Hey everybody, what's going on? Here we are, Duke Baxter, Steve Nicorak, Inside Zone Sports Academy. We have a lot of topics to go over today. We're going over our post weekend recap. We both had some really big games. We'll talk about some of those challenges, some of the highlights, some of the low sides of it. Some of the parents, some of the just kind of everything and anything. So if you can leave in the comments where you're watching from, what level coaching you are. Are you a first-time coach? Are you an advanced coach? Are you coaching T-ball, little league, high-end, high school, college, travel ball, whatever you're coaching? Coach Steve, you ready for today?
Yeah, always, guys. Your comments drive the show. So any questions, concerns, things you're looking for advice on, be sure to type them in the comments section. Duke has a whole page full of things that we want to get through today. We've got a big team workout tonight, and we're getting ready to fly down to Georgia tomorrow for the big national WWBA tournament hosted by Perfect Game in East Cobb. So we're looking forward to that. We're coming off big weekends. Didn't play our best baseball, so a lot of ups and downs, and trying to navigate the post-game speech when things aren't going good, trying to find ways to keep the team motivated and energetic when things aren't going great. So I'm sure a lot of things that you guys can relate to, but be sure to type in those comments. And as always, you guys drive the content on the show.
So, Coach Steve, I wanted to kind of start off something with kind of what you just said. You're getting ready to go down to a big tournament. You're getting ready to go down to Georgia. There's how many teams? 200, 300,
468.
468 teams in one tournament. And you said that you heard a quote or read a quote from a coach. What did that say, and how are you preparing?
It was pretty cool. The coach said, all you guys getting ready to go down to WWBA, coaches specifically, don't let it bring out the worst in you. And basically he was saying, you're going down to this big national event. The kids are excited. The coaches are excited. There's a lot of college programs in attendance. And you go down and you're facing some really quality competition, some of the best competition in the country. You're seeing good pitching. You're seeing good organizations. Some teams have guys from all over the country come in and play for their team. So, it's not like us where we're going down and we're Somerset County, New Jersey. We're going down and competing against guys that are pulling in players from all over. So basically the guy's message was, don't let it bring out the worst in you, in that we're not going to go down there and be screaming at umpires and get fired up and getting ejected from games. Body language, how coaches handle themselves through the adversity, because there's times that you go down there and you get your butt kicked a little bit, and it's just part of the game. A few years back, I took our 17U team down, and we played a team that was nationally ranked. We didn't really know who they were, and I'm looking behind home plate, and LSU and Auburn and Alabama, there's some big-time programs there, and we faced a freshman throwing 92 miles an hour, and we scored 4 off him in the first. I remember our guys were so fired up, and then they came back in the bottom of the first, scored 9, and we lost 14-4 in 4 innings. But we played good. We competed, and I think those are the kind of situations where a coach can easily get frustrated. You're in a big game, the emotions are high, you're all fired up. Don't let the situation or the atmosphere get the best of you. And remember, you're there with your guys. You're there to develop them. Do your best job at coaching them up and helping them battle through adversity, because you're definitely, throughout a week-long event, going to go through some ups and downs. So I think that was the main purpose in the message, and we've all seen it. I've seen coaches get ejected, screaming at umpires, yelling at their kids for making mistakes, but everybody's going down there excited. They're all a little bit anxious, probably some nerves, and that just comes with the territory. So, just trying to stick to what you're good at, and that's the fundamentals, controlling what you can control, and playing your best quality baseball.
That leads me to one of the things that I could think of that happened in our last game. On Monday, we had a game, and I almost had the worst of me almost came out. There was a play at first base. The field umpire was making some calls that that both coaches maybe didn't agree with, but it was a bang play at first base. It was like a routine ground ball to the shortstop, and we have a really fast number 9 hitter, and he flew down the line, and it was like a pretty much a basic he should be out, but instead he kind of gave up on the call, I felt like, and he called him out. But when you watch, the first baseman's foot was this far off the bag. It took him down the line, boom, he pulled him off, and he just called him out. So I respectfully came out, talked to Robin. I said, hey, Robin, can we go ask Paul? can we check this, please? Can we take a look at it and see what he thinks? He said, no problem, walked over to the home plate umpire. Home plate umpire said, yes, he held his foot on the bag, and he called him out, and I just walked off the field. The kids were going crazy. The parents were going crazy. He pulled it. I said, at that time, there's nothing else you can do, right? You do the right thing. You ask the right side. You ask the right umpire. He asked for help. The home plate umpire said he held his foot. And end of story. There's no reason as a coach to start going ballistic. I mean, you can if you want to, but nothing's going to change from there. So if you don't agree with a specific call, make sure you ask for help and you do it the right way. So I went back into the dugout, took a couple deep breaths, and we just kept on playing. But that's a situation where he was clearly this far off. But then when you look back at the video, the home plate umpire had to look at another play that might have happened, so he was out of position. The field umpire couldn't really tell from where he was saying, and that's why he asked for help. So sometimes something that's so simple and looks so, the first base coach has a perfect angle on it, can totally see he pulled his foot, but where everybody else is, sometimes they don't, and they miss calls. And you just have to move on and, calm your guys back down and keep playing. Because the more you freak out, the more you start screaming and yelling. Now the kids are doing the same thing, and that can totally negatively impact the rest of the game for you. So we went about our business. We kept on going. We ended up winning, but sometimes those are the situations where we just kind of lose it a little bit, and then it really can snowball fast. So make sure you do it the right way. Make sure you ask for help. Make sure you do it the proper way too, and you're not just screaming from the dugout, just barking at these guys, because the umpires that's definitely not going to get any calls for the rest of the game. So
that happened to us this weekend too. We played a good team. Pitcher from the other team throws his first two pitches, and it's 16U, so it's a 60-90 field. It's an 0-2 count, nobody on base, and the pitcher sets up 5 feet in front of the rubber. So he set up where the pitcher's foot normally lands, gets up, quick pitches, throws a pitch, and I look up and notice it and put my arms up. The first base umpire looks at me, strike 3. I walk over to the first base umpire. I said, Joe, he's 5 feet in front of the rubber right there. You didn't see that? He's like, no, but I'll keep an eye on it for next time. Like, it's probably not going to happen next time, but it was just one of those situations I couldn't do anything, and I couldn't get the words out of my mouth fast enough that he threw the ball from probably 53 feet instead of 60. But he pulled a fast one on us and got us. Coach Kent's got a good one there, Duke. How to balance expectations within a program. Several parents, players are all about championships. I'm a big developmental coach, coaching them all with a team mindset. That's a good one, man. I mean, we always start off our year with a player-parent meeting and try to go over our expectations and our guidelines and what we're looking to accomplish this season. And I go through it now with our guys at 16U because everybody's looking to get recruited and get to that next level. But if everybody focuses on the team, like you're saying, that team first mindset, I'm a big believer that the championships are a byproduct of that. If I show up to the field every day and say, what can I do to help my team win? What can I do? Whether I'm struggling at the plate, I'm going to play great defense, or I made an error, well, I got to come back in and have a quality at bat, or I might be a bench player today, well, I have to be on the top step of the dugout. If I can put the team first, the we over me mentality, I'm a big believer that championships happen as a byproduct of that. If we're only focused on the result and our own individual performance, it's tough to create that culture. So I think you're doing the right thing. You got anything to add to that? I would just talk about the preseason expectations.
Yeah, we have something that we'll add in the comments, and that's the parent and player code of conduct. What you can expect from us, what we expect from you, what you as parents can expect from the program. And I know Coach Steve does this as well as I do it as well, is when we're playing in the round robin or the beginning phases of the tournament, we may bat everybody. We may bat all 11 guys. We get everybody in, we move them and shuffle them around. Once we get into the playoff version or Sunday, the players know that, hey, we were able to get you in on Saturday, but now on Sunday, we may only bat 9, we may only bat 10, we're going to substitute some guys. And, especially when you're talking the 16U level, these kids are used to only batting 9. It's like real baseball. But we still do the best that we can to get more guys in the game so that they are ready for Sunday. So if you're dealing with the younger kids, 9, 10, 11, batting everybody to get everybody in the game game to where when it counts, you can use whoever you need and they're all ready to go, opposed to only batting 9 the entire season, the same 3 or 4 guys always on the bench, barely playing. You're not developing those players. So try to find time to get kids that maybe don't pitch that much. Maybe you can get them an inning in one of those early Saturday games, or even while they're throwing batting practice on a day of a practice, so they're getting some kind of work in, so they are developing. You want to make sure that you are developing your players, because at the end of the year you want to keep making sure they're getting better, not how many trophies did we win, how many championships did we win, because sometimes those guys that you're talking about that all they care about is championships, they bounce from team to team, year to year, and it doesn't matter what you do to try to make them happy. You got to try to make everybody happy within that organization. And some of those guys are just going to leave, but you'll really keep a hold of those guys that are about getting better, moving on. And like Steve said, you're still going to win a lot of championships doing it that way. So I agree with the way that you're doing it. It's about development for us too. That's how we look at it first. Development first, winning championships second, but we do win a lot of championships.
Yeah. Coach Rob's got a good one there. Looking to go from 12U baseball to the Big Diamond next year. Any tips? Coach Rob, that's one of the most challenging jumps, going from 12 to 13. Obviously, the size of the field is significantly different. The bats are heavier. I think the overall pace of play is just so much slower. There's not as much action. Kids struggle to make throws across the infield. You got double cuts, sometimes triple cuts at 13U. I think going over pop-up communication, going over positioning on cuts and relays, getting your pitchers acclimated to throwing from 60 feet instead of 50 feet, as well as the hitters. So, when we're at practice and we're transitioning to that big field, we do a lot of base running, we do a lot of dirt ball reads, we do positioning on, cuts and relays like I mentioned before, but we also just try to get them thrown right into the fire. And we do some simulated games at practices, and we let the pitchers throw from 60 feet. We let the hitters see balls from 60 feet. And, just try to get them out there and playing as much as possible. The footwork on ground balls are huge. Outfielders creating good angles and trying to create momentum towards their cutoff man is huge. But you'll see it's a big jump. Your bigger, stronger guys are going to be okay, but the smaller guys sometimes struggle that first year on 13U. And depending on the restrictions, the bat restrictions, those drop 3s and drop 5s are pretty heavy for them. So I think those are the biggest struggles that we always run into at that age.
And I even think that you can, when they are 12, like even when you have them, even when they're on the little field still getting ready to go to the big, have a practice like maybe every other week on the big field just for fun, right? Get them to see what it's like, kind of get them acclimated to, whoa, this is why now when you're telling us we have to move our feet to make our throws, everything is max effort. That's one of the things you have to remember. When they go from 12 to 13, most kids are max efforting almost every throw they make. Whether they're pitching from 60 feet, everything is almost as hard as they can throw to get it there. When they're throwing from third or shortstop, they're throwing almost as hard as they can just to get it to the base. So just make sure you remember that so that you're not running a 2.5-hour practice on the big field with 12-year-old kids, because the volume is going to be very, very much higher for their arms. So just remember that as well.
I think from a hitting perspective, jumping up to the big field, the biggest thing is focus on quality at bats. We've had kids that were really, really small at 13U. That I had a kid. This is a perfect example. He hit .058 at 13U, and he's playing college baseball now. And I kept telling him all throughout, that process of going through his growth, maturing. It was focus on quality at bats. I don't care if you go for 3 today. If we're on time and hit the ball hard, the balls are going to end up falling. But you'll see kids that hit a bunch of homers in Little League and they're all pop-ups now. Or kid hits line drives and now they're soft line out to the shortstop and second baseman. So focusing on the approach, focusing on keeping them engaged and not disappointed in their stats just because they're on such a big field at that point. So quality at bats, be on time, hit the ball hard. Forget about what your stats look like at the end of the year.
I like this one by Coach Conrad. He said, looking to start clinics with upcoming 9 and 8U players for the next few weeks. Any fun games that we can do with the players? 100%. We have a lot of fun drills. Something that you can do is the kids can play catch, and we call it quick catch. And you can have a competition where the first team to get 10 catches is the winner. So they're working on being quick with their hands. They're working on moving their feet, making good throws. That's a fun one. Another fun one is we take a bucket of, you can use tennis balls. We use our smush balls. balls and a racquetball, and we play knockout, and we line up all the kids, and we're hitting them balls down the line, and if they miss one, they're out until there's a winner. We have ground ball challenges. You can set up 2 coaches, 2 buckets of balls, and 2 lines of 6. And you say go, and it's coach against coach. One coach is hitting the ground ball, they're catching it, throwing it into the target. Once they hit the target, it's a point, and the first line to get 10 points hitting the target's the winner. So really it's just taking the drills that you're going to do and the basic skills that they're going to be learning, and you're going to be teaching them, and just kind of either putting a stopwatch to it or a number to it, or just making a race out of it. You can do obstacle course challenges. So there's all kinds of cool stuff that you can do, knockouts. One of the things that we do like to do is making it competitive and almost like having it to where they're working as a team to score. So it's not just there's one winner, whoever's the last one to drop the ball. Okay, that's one way to do it. But another way is, okay, 6-on-6, the first team to get 10 points wins. That's another cool way that you can do it. Relay races. Now you're getting all the players to root each other on so that they're trying to get them to do even better, and there's something at stake there as well. So we think that's really fun. The winning team can do the losing team could do 5 push-ups or a lap around the bases, or have something at stake that's fun, that puts the challenge into it. But those are just some real quick things that I just thought off the top of my head that we like to use in our practices, camps, and games.
Yeah, that's perfect. I can get a stopwatch out, time certain things, relay races, cuts and relays competitions. Like Duke said, you can basically create a competition out of every single drill you do. Hitting off the tee in the cage, we're going to set up targets and do points based off what targets you're hitting. But kids love that, and I love Duke's point on making it a team win as opposed to just one winner.
Yeah. This one's good. Coach Merrill, we had a kid hit a bomb on us after he ran the bases. The umpire came up and told me to have someone designated to watch the bags because the runner missed second base. He said he saw it, but I have to appeal. How do you handle this? Well, there's two ways that I'm thinking. How do you handle it as the umpire came up to you and said he missed second base, which he should never have done, right? Like in the game, like that's like ratting on a kid and being like you pulling back. If you didn't see it, then guess what? It's like don't even challenge that and even call that. If you're asking how to appeal that, then what you have to do is you have to make sure the ball's in play. You have to make sure the umpire says okay. Then you check with the home plate umpire. Your pitcher steps off, throws to the base, and says we're appealing second base. He missed the bag, and you do it that way. I don't know if the level that you're at with younger players, sometimes you can just say he missed second base. I think at some levels, some younger levels, even as soon as he misses the bag, the umpire can automatically call him out. So there's so many different rules. But I think that's kind of sketchy for an umpire to say, hey, you missed second base after that home run. If you want to appeal it, like that's not how it works.
Yeah,
that's tough.
I would just say depending on the age and the situation in the game, like I would hate to take a home run away from a kid on another team. So, if you're up big or down big, I would probably let it go in 99.9% of the situations. My first Little League home run, I missed first base because I was so excited. And they appealed first, and the first base umpire was one of my old coaches, and he called me safe. He didn't call me out on it. And after the game, he told me that I missed first base, and he said I wasn't gonna bang you on your first career homer in Little League. So that was cool.
That was cool. Yeah, that's good. And remember, if you like some of the comments, if you like some of the answers, make sure you pound some of the hearts. You stick up some thumbs. We love seeing those. And also, if you're a coach that has something that you've done that you might be able to help one of the questions that's in the comments, feel free to add something that you do, because we're always learning as coaches. We're just as coachable as you guys, and you can always learn, and there's always more ways to do things. So we're all here to help each other.
We'll go to Coach Nick. I have kids in the cages in BP that have a great approach, but it changes at game time. Example, I have a kid that starts to cringe his front shoulder in like he's going to get hit, and then it throws off his swing and his timing. I think honestly, man, that's just probably a fear of failure. I think most kids do that. They have a great plan in the cage. Kids look great in pregame bullpens, and they go out to the game, and it's they're worried about letting their teammates down or their parents down. Maybe they're worried about hitting the batter in the batter's box, but everything that they've worked on to get to that point kind of goes out the window, and there's that fear of, I don't want to strike out right here, or I really don't want to hit this kid, and all those negative thoughts come into their mind. So I'm a big fan of talking to those kids when they're going through those struggles and saying, what's going on in your head right now? What are you afraid of? What's causing you to duck out of the way of the pitch, or whatever it might be, and get a feel for what they're thinking. I ask kids all the time, what are you thinking up there? Or what's your approach? And you get some funny answers when you start to actually ask, and sometimes it's just don't swing and miss, or just make contact. When in the batting cage, they're trying to pepper balls through the back net. So I think getting a feel for the individual and what makes them tick and what they're afraid of, and then teaching them about the confidence and that it's okay to fail, and we play a sport where you're going to fail so often that we have to overcome that, and we have to be tough and get in there and not be afraid to get hit, not be afraid to swing and miss, not be afraid to get out, because those are all real, and it's something that every single player goes through. So I think talking to each individual about what scares them, what makes them tick, what motivates them, it's going to help equip you with whatever you need to do, whether it be drill wise or just mental, pumping them up with confidence. I think it's going to better help you understanding who you're talking to.
That's awesome. That's so important. I think that like Coach Steve said, that doesn't happen enough to where the coach actually asks the player what they want to do. Yeah. It's like, well, what do I do with my son? I think he should change teams because the other team's better. And our first answer is, well, what does your son want to do? What does your daughter want to do? Do they want to change teams, or are they happy with where they are, with their friends, with the level that they're at? Like, you don't have to make those decisions for an 8-year-old or 9-year-old player that wants to stay where they are. They really like the coach and they are getting better. You don't make those decisions so quick without asking your son or daughter. And I also think with what Coach Steve said, it's as a coach, we have to think about what those answers are. So if I have a kid that's afraid to get hit by the ball, well, what do you think that you should do? You should, in practice, work on either hitting him in practice, like meaning teaching him how to get out of the way of the ball and hitting that challenge head on, or else every single game's gonna come and you're gonna be like, man, he's afraid of the ball still. Man, he's afraid of the ball still. I do with I have a son, he's 11, and Tyler's just like that. He's my only son that is, got hit when he was 8, got hit right in the side of his cheek, and it's like, it's so hard to get him to dig in. We hit plenty of times, and it's like, until I was like, okay, that's it. I'm gonna look at some stats. He was hit one time last year, that's it. Once he knew that, it was like, okay, like it's a lot less that it's going to happen. It's still gonna happen, but we practice a lot now. My wife throws to him, I throw to him, because he knows if I'm throwing batting practice, I throw it right down the middle. So he's gonna dig in, he's gonna rip balls. As soon as my wife starts to pitch, he's like on roller skates. He's this, he's that. So it's like, that's the best thing for him, is that. So don't dodge the situation that you already have. You got to attack it head on and do what they don't want to do. And that's, I'm going to throw balls all over, buddy. Or now I'm going to move back, where I'm going to start throwing harder. Oh, okay, let me see one so I can see how fast you're throwing. So right away, like it's like, here we go. Yeah. So I think that's a great question though. Ask them, talk to them, and then from there, hit it head on. It'll really help you and him.
Coach Jason, I coach 15U. Got some kids that want to play for me from another town. Should I let them play for me? Should I do a draft or have the kids play on my team? Trying to understand the question here. I would make sure that, if you're in the middle of a season, I would not bring in new kids. I would make sure you wait until after the season. It happens to us every year. We have a tryout for our spring and summer team, and then we have another tryout for our fall team, because some kids like to go play football, some other guys play soccer. So we get a few kids that leave, a few kids come in, and then as soon as the fall season's over, we run another tryout for the upcoming spring and summer. But I think you should do a good job of really sitting down and evaluating, taking notes on the players, getting a feel for what they can do, if they're going to fit your team, not just play-wise, but also fit the culture of your team and the kind of kids that you'd want to be around, and the families. There's so much that goes into making a team and making sure that certain guys are going to fit certain roles, and the kids are going to get along and they're going to buy into your culture. So there's so many things that go into it. But whenever you're running a tryout, I think the more notes, the more measurable numbers, the more comments you can take throughout that process, I think the better off you're going to be.
That's good. That's good. Coach Green said, my son currently has fall, spring, left an 8U coach pitch before moving up to kid pitch in 2023. When do you consider moving him up to kid pitch? Do you consider moving him up early if he's a stud at 8U? I mean, I think that's one that we can ask that question a lot. Like, when is it okay to move them up to the next level? You know, I mean, or do they just handle being a stud at this level, then next year, you know, be a stud at the next level? Because some guys move up 2 or 3 levels, and next thing you know, they get to a level to where you can't move up anymore. Now they feel like they're getting stale and it's stagnant. And I've been playing with 11U kids for the last 2 years. Now I have to play with them again. Like, yeah, well, that's your age. So it's like, you know, moving up in the fall maybe, because it's, you know, that's the time that you can move up, and then in the spring you're kind of kicking back into the, you know, the next real age group. That might be something, but I would just be careful moving them up too fast just to move them up to, you know, because you can't just keep moving up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's good. Coach Oscar, great show, gentlemen, watching from Canton, Ohio. I'll be moving up to 13U. Is there bat restrictions on the weights of the bats? Do they need to go to -5, -3, opposed to staying at the -8, -10? I think it goes from league to league.
Yeah.
You know, we do a lot of USABL stuff. We'll do perfect game stuff. But depending on where we're going, the rules are different. So,
Yeah.
you know, we could go to Ripken in Aberdeen, Maryland, and you can pretty much use whatever you want.
Insane.
You go to Cooperstown's 12U, but there you can use whatever you want. If we're playing middle school baseball in New Jersey, you have to use a drop 3 BB core. USABL lets you use, I believe, the USA stamp bats that are either -5, -3. I think even some can be -7. So I think I would just look into what your schedule looks like, whoever the governing body of the league is that you're playing in, and they should have rules in there. But you know, I think most kids at 13U usually go to a drop 5 or maybe a drop 7. I think you'll see those smaller bats, the -8s, the -10s, those get challenging to use at 13U. I just think the bigger field, the ball's not going to fly as far.
Yeah, definitely. And Brett Williams put up a good link right there. Those are the US AAA the rules.
Thanks,
you know,
Brett.
because that'll kind of have a lot of the different the bat sizes and stuff like that. So that'll be helpful. Asking how you manage watching the bags on your team.
That was from the question before with the kid hitting a home run. So I don't really know if there's a specific way to, or, you know, I'm going to designate Coach Duke to make sure that the guys step on the bags. I think it's just something you see. I think at that age, when somebody hits a home run at a young age, it's like everybody's looking up into the trees at the ball. Nobody's even watching the runner. You know, but in certain situations, I just find myself glimpsing out at the runner trying to leg out a double. And if I see him miss first, that's when I would call time and have my pitcher appeal. But I don't know if there's really a set way of doing it.
The only thing that I think of, like, you know, because we're not obviously on the field, our kids are, right? We're on defense, is, you know, to have the first baseman make sure that on a home run, your job's first base, the second baseman's job is second base, the third base, and the catcher's home.
Yeah.
So as soon as he hits it, those guys just watch and make sure, and if they miss the bag, they then sign into you that, hey, he missed the bag, and then, you know, that's one way of doing it, because I don't think a coach can't barely even see what happens from the dugout, but if the position players all have their own job, I think that could be helpful. Yeah.
Got a good one. Dom, just go up a little bit from Jill Riley. Are there any good drills to strengthen the arms of an 8U team on how to throw across the field from third base to first? Most can't make the throw. You know, 8U is a really, it's a young age, so a lot of the kids are going to be undersized. You know, I think for those kids that are struggling to make the throw, it's important that we do a consistent throwing program before each practice. So, you know, it might be timed where, you know, we do 1 minute at 15 feet and we're doing wrist flicks. We do 1 minute at 20 feet and we're doing figure 8 throws. 1 minute at just step and throw, we work back to 60 feet, now we're shuffling into our throw, and then maybe we add in a little bit of a long toss. And I don't mean rainbows from 150 feet, I mean maybe 75 feet we back up to, and we get a good aggressive shuffle, we get our feet moving, and we try to throw lasers right through our partner's head. So I think the throwing program is important, that we keep that structured. We don't let them go down the line and just play catch on their own. Now from there, once you get into practice and you're doing drill work, making sure that they have good momentum going towards first base is always going to help. At 8U, guys don't really have the arm strength to sit back and throw off their back foot. So I love doing things using lines, using cones, using ladders to try to create as much energy and momentum going towards first base as possible. So now it's not just strictly arm strength, it's their feet and their rhythm and all the momentum they have taken them. That it's always going to help with arm strength.
Yeah, that's good. And we'll also add in the comments. We have some band exercises. You can either use bands or just baseballs that Coach Mike put together. It's like 9 arm activation exercises. So that's, we're not really building strength, but it's something that when they start getting older, that would be something that'll be able to help you out with that. So that should help. Jesse Potts, any pointers on the mental game? Not necessarily teaching it, but helping with it. 12U softball here in Arkansas. Jesse, that's a topic that rises all the time, with us. And we just put together a course, and we're almost finished. We have all the videos shot. We're just making the promos and getting ready to get the page up. But it's all about the mental game. It's all about how to help your players get over the strikeouts and taking the negativity of one situation and bring it into another. How to work on their breathing. How to work on their mindset. How to work on visualization. All that stuff is so important. And I think it's interesting how when you asked the question, you said not necessarily teaching it, but helping with it. And I think that as coaches, once you look at our course, you're going to know how to teach it and help with it at the same time, because you are teaching it, you are coaching it. And I think it's going to help you as a coach learn some of the things that we have to go through on a weekend basis when we're coaching our teams as well. Like it has to happen just as much from our end as it does on the kids' end. And I think that the more they watch us and what we do, it's also going to help them a lot, dealing with, a bad call. How do we handle it? Different situations and tough situations. How are we handling it? How are we handling adversity? Or, there's so many things that happen that I think that you'll really enjoy that. So we'll make sure that you get that, a copy of that, or, we add that in there as soon as we get done. But there's a lot of cool things in that for that.
Yeah. Keith's got a good one. We've talked a lot about umpires lately. Keith says, I want to become an umpire. How hard are parents on umpires these days? Is it really as bad as I've seen in the videos? Unfortunately, in certain situations, yes. Duke talked a couple weeks back about an umpire up here who's a 70-year-old man got punched by a coach from another team. I think it all starts with the coaches being responsible and taking action that, when we play, we're going to respect the game, we're going to respect our opponents, and we're going to respect the umpires. So, there's been times my younger brother coaches 10U, and he has to go over and tell his parents, guys, that's enough, right? Because the parents they're chirping, they want to yell, they get fired up, they're engaged, but yelling at an umpire isn't going to benefit anybody, right? It's only going to hurt you. The strike zone's going to get smaller and smaller the more you question borderline strikes. If there's a judgment call, it's the coach's responsibility to go out respectfully and whether argue or ask for help, but it's not our players' jobs and it's not the parents' job. So I think as a whole, we as coaches need to take responsibility for the parents, for the players, for everyone on our side of the field, and there has to be a zero tolerance policy that we're not going to yell. Right? I've had parents that I have to ask, just go hang down the line, sit in the chair and root for your kid, because they get so fired up and it's like they forget the real reason why they're there, right? It's 10U baseball. Enjoy watching your son or daughter play. This guy's behind home plate doing his best. He's not there to, do something wrong or make the wrong call. And the coolest example I saw was in the major leagues. Felix Hernandez? I think he almost had a perfect game. It's got to be 10 years ago now. And the first base umpire missed the call at first. This was before you could challenge. Last play of the game, close call at first, calls him safe. After the game, they went into the umpire's locker room, and the umpire was crying his eyes out. He's like, I just took a perfect game away from that guy. I missed that call. My job is not to get the calls wrong. I'm there to make the right call, and he just took so much pride in his job. And I know obviously he's a professional at it, but I don't think the majority of umpires are out there to make the wrong calls. So like I said, we as coaches have to do a good job at managing our players, managing their parents, and making sure that we always respect the game, the opponents, and the umpires.
And I think another thing is, one of the biggest misconceptions is if there's a tie, right? If there's a tie, the tie doesn't go to the runner. It goes to whatever the umpire calls. If it's a tie and he calls him out, he's out. If it's a tie and he calls him safe, he's safe. So if you see a tie on the field, right? If you see a tie, that doesn't automatically mean he's safe. When we're on offense, we want him to be safe. When we're on defense, we want him to be out. So when it's a tie, it's whatever the umpire calls. So you can't say, oh, it was a bang play, it was a tie. Well, okay, if it's tie, it's whatever he says. So I think that's something that that we need to know, because that happens all the time, right? We had an umpire on Friday. He's like, right in the beginning, hey guys, we're going over ground rules. Hey guys, want to let you know, I got a big strike zone. I like the outside corner, and I'm going to be consistent. I looked at the other coach. I was like, okay, first inning, our second batter gets a strike called. That thing had to be this far outside, and it was like strike. He looked at me, and I was like, hey, just let's keep going. But he was right. He did it to both teams the entire game. And man, was that a tough pitch to hit out there. But it was the same. So it's like sometimes all you want is consistency. So as an umpire, you just want a consistent umpire that has a zone, whether it's a high zone, a low, in, out, whatever, but it sticks to that. And then the pitchers just have to figure out how to pitch to it. But, I think it really works both ways, because on Saturday I was watching a game at Perfect Game, and this field umpire was the one that was chirping so bad at the third base dugout. Like, he was all in their dugout. He made one call, next thing you know, he's looking, staring right in there, like waiting for him to say something. Yeah. The guy said something, and next thing you know, he's screaming and yelling at the coach, and the coach is like, we're allowed to talk, and he wouldn't stop the umpire. That the home plate umpire actually had to tell him to stop and say, calm down, let's play ball. And it was like, so it just happens everywhere. So it's just, it's tough. We all have to do our part to do the best we can and respect one another's, responsibilities and jobs.
Yep. Coach Josh, hey guys, 9U coach. I have a kid that enjoys being at games and practices, but his parents don't seem to be interested in making sure he is there. Being 9, I'm not sure if it's more of a player or a parent issue or a lazy kid issue when it comes to playing time and such. How would you handle this? Without really knowing the details of the situation, I think, maybe just having a phone call with the parents and, let them know, not that you have a strict policy at 9U of being at practice, but making sure that they try their best to get him there, because he's missing out on practices, he's missing out on drills, he's missing out on development, and it makes it challenging to put him into games. Maybe he doesn't know the signs, or maybe he doesn't know certain situational defenses, but maybe just get a feel for where they're at. And I think if it's an ongoing problem, then maybe it's a follow-up call. But we always try to talk to our parents in advance and say, look, we're only going to practice twice a week, and we need our guys there. We need them there so they know all of our signs, they know our plays, they know our offensive strategies, whatever it is. But we need our guys at practice in order to play and be successful in the game. It's tough when you're missing guys, and then all of a sudden maybe he's a good player and you want to get him in the lineup, but he shouldn't be in the lineup over one of the guys that's been at practice. So I know your struggle. I think the best way is to just handle it head on and maybe just get on a phone call with the parents and kind of see where they're at.
I think to add a little bit to that is make sure as a coach, if you know that one player or another player, say, is going to miss practice and you work on specific things in practice, make sure you write that down so that before the next game happens, you can put them up to speed with certain signs or plays that might have happened. Because that happened to us last Thursday when we were at a game. We had one of the pitchers wasn't there. We knew that at this specific tournament, the fake third, pick first was legal. We put a sign in for it, and the pitcher on the mound didn't know what the sign was because he wasn't at practice. And I was like, we put the sign on, he lifted his leg, he pitched, the guy stole, and I was like, oh man, we never went over it with him, so I had to take a note. But so make sure that whoever's not at your practices, that you keep them somehow up to speed with something that you're working on, especially if you're adding in a new play or a new sign. Make sure that they all know it, because there's nothing more frustrating than going into a game and realizing that one of the guys that's a piece of the puzzle doesn't know what the sign is. So make sure you jot that down. Chuck says, do you guys prefer to put travel teams into local leagues, or would you rather spend time on the practice field? Well, I mean, that's a good question. I think another thing that you could possibly do, Chuck, is find another travel team to play instead. Maybe you can gather up 3 more travel teams and play, start your own little league, or just, have scrimmages throughout the week, 1 scrimmage game and 1 practice game. So that way you're playing other travel teams and not just a local league to where you're going to go and railroad teams, or you're going to be way better than them, because that's not helping your team out at all. So maybe you can find another team or 2 that you kind of round robin scrimmages throughout the week. I think that will help you a ton. And that way, if you're the same level as the travel or the local league, then that's fine. You can definitely do that. But if not, and if you're way better than them, you're not going to get much out of it. Instead, have some scrimmages with some other travel teams.
Yep. Coach Eric, opinion on moving to a bigger school to play better competition. 90% of her select team is going to the same school and are at the same grade. Also, it's a 20-minute drive for us. What do you got on that, Dukester?
I mean, I don't know how hard or how challenging it is for you just to move, move to a bigger school, like taking her away from her friends and doing all that stuff. I just think there's a lot to that question. Again, it brings us back to, what does your daughter want to do? Does she want to move to a bigger school? Does she like where she's at? Does she, I'm not sure, what grade she's in either. Are we talking about an 11-year-old? Are we talking about a junior in high school? I think that there's a lot of weighing of options of what to do there. But, there's just a lot of questions.
I mean, I grew up in Pennsylvania, so there really was no private schools. And now that I'm relocated into New Jersey, there's so many private schools in this area. So that's always an option for the players in this area, right? Do they stay in their public school, or, there's a couple powerhouse private schools that they can go to. I think the biggest thing is development and making sure that, she's getting her reps, she's in the lineup, and, she's playing the position that she needs to play to continue to progress and get better. I think sometimes those moves look great, and it's, I'm going here because it's a better team, we're going to play better competition, but, making sure that she's still in the lineup and she's still getting her at-bats, and she's still, let's say she's a catcher, she's a starting catcher. I think those are more important than just going to play better competition.
Yeah. And some more advice as I'm thinking about it, Keith, the one that was, talking about being an umpire. I think that, a lot of it is on the coaches. You're going to have, just like there's all different level umpires when you're going into a game. Sometimes it's a 16-year-old kid, making $50 a game, and he's really loves the game and enjoys it and doesn't really know the rules that well, or doesn't really have much experience. And then you're a coach, and then all of a sudden, you're umpiring in a game where, like Coach Duke or Coach Steve, where we both played professional baseball, we have a high level of baseball IQ, and so when an umpire doesn't know a certain rule or something and makes a call, it makes it a little challenging for us to be like, okay, they just don't know what the rule is, right? Like, so I think that knowing the rules and understanding, okay, are you coaching in high school? Are you coaching travel ball? What are the rules? What are the different situations that can happen that you'll know the answers to? I think that's a lot of it sometimes when we're at games, and the umpires are calling balks on things that aren't balks, or they're calling certain, rules. The other day we had a guy that, was in the field, ground ball hit. We had a runner on second. I was stealing him at the time. He was stealing. Ball hit to him, smoked off his kneecap, rolled into left field. I'm sending the guy from second home. He goes in here, but no one knew what the rule was. Like, no one knew does that run still score and the guy goes to first? Does the runner have to go back to second? And there were 2 younger umpires that just didn't know what the rule was. So I think knowing the rules and making sure that you know those is very, it's going to be very beneficial for you in umpiring a baseball game. That doesn't mean that the parents are going to behave and the coaches are going to behave and all that stuff, but, at least you know what you're talking about and, that sort of thing. So.
Yep. Paul left a great comment there about coaches holding a preseason meeting, coming firm with conduct standards for coaches, players, and parents, which will include telling parents they're not allowed to argue calls, balls, strikes, or conduct themselves and conduct themselves with professionalism at all times. Of course, that requires the coach to hold up that standard. I think that was the best part of that comment right there. You know, it's kind of just reiterating what we said, but making sure that we as coaches also handle ourselves professionally and respectfully, and you know, we don't tell our players and parents one thing and go act a different way. So awesome. We appreciate that comment there.
Well, thanks so much, coaches. Coach Steve and I got to start wrapping it up. Coach Steve's leaving for Florida tomorrow. Georgia. He's going to be down there for a week. So next Monday, I'm going to be shooting the show. But I'm going to be talking to Coach Steve over the weekend and kind of getting some cool topics. Wanted to say thank you so much for being coaches, taking on the responsibility of a coach, trying to be coachable, learn some of the things that we're talking about. You can gather all of our information on our membership. We have a 3-day membership that we'll include in the bottom. You get all of our templates, all of our drills, our code of conducts, how to create practice plans, lineup cards, and we have A to Z on how to teach pitchers, catchers, infielders, outfielders, hitting drills, team drills, anything from T-ball all the way up to the highest of levels. So make sure you subscribe, get our 3-day membership, enjoy that. Duke Baxter, Coach Steve Nicorak at Zone Sports Academy. Super excited. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time, and go dominate the diamond.